Hello YouTube, my name is Darren and my amateur radio call sign is N4VFR. I'm here at Rich's place and his call sign is WA1GZY Yankee, or WA1 Golf Zulu Yankee. Thanks for having me on board, Rich. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being here.
Man, he has an immaculate place here and I want to share his shack and some of his antiques with you. Okay, this is Rich's Geochron. Very nice, with a 65-inch monitor. And let's get a tour of his shack. Go ahead and show us your shack there.
Well, we have two HF transceivers. One is the Icom 7851. The other is a Kenwood TS-990. Both of them drive a solid-state linear amplifier, the Italian SPE Expert 2K. It puts out 1500 watts, and the station is also remotable via a cell phone connection and simple touchtone commands, or via the internet. I can operate from 160 through 70 centimeters, rotate the antenna, and control the amplifier all remotely. We've operated from all over the continental US, Alaska, Hawaii, Canada, Panama, and Europe. The Icom 7851 only has a bass and treble control for audio, so we supplement that with the W2IHY audio equalizer noise gate and EQ Plus. They tailor the audio and then feed the Icom 7851. On the receive side, the output of the Icom 7851 as well as my other HF transceiver all go into the Heil parametric receive audio system. What that lets me do is tailor on the fly the high, mid, and low frequencies into the monitor speaker, which Heil Sound includes with this parametric receive system. So I get excellent audio from the stations that we're working. I have two antenna switches to switch from the Icom to the Kenwood.
Okay, you said you alternate, so you don't have one favorite, right?
They each have their advantages and small demerits. The Icom 7851 allows you to record off air but inhibits playback. The Kenwood TS-90 records off air and can play back. The Icom 7851 has a slightly better digital noise algorithm versus the Kenwood. The Kenwood has an option to have wideband transmissions up to 4 kilohertz, so the audio on Kenwood is superior to that of Icom, which is limited to 2.9 kilohertz.
Kenwood TS-990.
There we go.
How much power does this put out?
They both
stock?
put out 200 watts.
Okay, 200.
I limit in the software, I limit them to 50 watts because the SPE amplifier doesn't require any more power to drive it to full legal limit. SPE Expert 2K.
So Expert, this is like from Expert Electronics?
It's from Society per Electronica. It's an Italian company.
Oh, Italian. Okay, gotcha.
And the model is the Expert 2K. They had a 1K. They discontinued. They have a 1.3K, a 1.5K, and the 2K is their flagship.
Okay, this is an Italian amplifier. The LP700 digital station monitor. I have one similar to that. I have the little brother of the LP100A. Right. And I just figured out the other day that I can actually display this on my monitor.
Yes.
Like on a computer. And you need to have a FDLI RS-232 cable and that's connected to like a PC computer, for example, such as USB-A or USB-C. As you're changing the Icom radio,
Or the Kenwood, either one.
and then it follows the SteppIR.
Right. What's happening is, see, here it is too. Ham Radio Deluxe is showing 160.9.
160.9, correct.
Here's 161. Okay.
Okay.
I'll go
So
to
it's
160.
following, yeah.
All right, so it's on 160. So what happens is this talks to Ham Radio Deluxe. This Ham Radio Deluxe talks to the amplifier.
Gotcha.
Or if Ham Radio Deluxe stopped working, the amplifier has a built-in frequency counter. And as soon as it receives some RF, it knows the frequency. The amplifier, in turn, talks to the SteppIR controller and gives it the frequency direction.
Okay.
So
There's
they're
a lot
all linked. If I have this on, it's the same thing.
With the Kenwood, right.
With the Kenwood, it works with the Ham Radio Deluxe. Then it talks to the amplifier reads the frequency, and the amplifier, depending on the frequency, I've pre-programmed what antennas to use. So it uses the SteppIR from 40 meters on up. It'll automatically switch to that low band antenna for 160, 80, and 60 meters. All my antennas are resonant, so even though the amplifier has a built-in tuner, I bypass that because it's not needed with the present antennas.
I'm kind of new with the SteppIR, doing a little bit of research. You saying your amplifier is connected to the SteppIR, correct?
Correct.
Via CAT cable? Is that Ethernet cable or?
There are two CAT cables. One comes from transceiver 1, the other comes from the Kenwood transceiver 2. Then they go to the amplifier, to CAT 1 and CAT 2. Then there's a separate cable called port 1 that goes from the amplifier to the DB9 connection on the SteppIR. So the amplifier is providing the frequency data to the SteppIR. The two transceivers talk directly to the amplifier. Also, due to both transceivers have a USB connection to the computer, the desktop computer.
Right, I saw
and
that.
The Ham Radio Deluxe is also a USB connection to the computer. So the Ham Radio Deluxe is getting its frequency data from the USB connections from both transceivers. So there are two ways. Both transceivers have a USB connection to the computer, and both transceivers have a CAT cable to the amplifier. So Ham Radio Deluxe is getting its data from the USB connections from the computer. And in exchange, the Ham Radio Deluxe controls both transceivers remotely. And a good example is the DX cluster. Let's take a look at the DX cluster right now. I'm going to look at the 20 meter band. Right? This is what's happening on 20 meters right now. Do you see this K0 DVP on 14306? Let's say that I wanted to talk with him. I left click on that and the transceiver shifted.
Okay, so it followed. You want to talk to this guy, it controls your transceiver to go to the appropriate frequency.
And mode.
And mode of operation, and that also adjusts your SteppIR's antenna to be resonant on that specific freak.
That's because there are two connections. There's a USB connection from the transceivers to the computer. The Ham Radio Deluxe is connected to the computer, so it's reading information from there. Also, if I click on a DX cluster station, the feedback goes the other way. Ham Radio Deluxe sends frequency and data information to either transceiver, and so everything shifts. And since the transceiver is directly connected to the amplifier, that's shifted as well.
So Rich also has the Icom 9700. This is what you use for your satellite communication.
Correct. And I turn that on, you can see.
All right, so you wait till the satellite passes overhead in order to make a contact?
Ham Radio Deluxe has a satellite tracking program that indicates at what time you'll have the acquisition of signal, what time you'll have the loss of signal. It also points out what frequency the uplink and downlink would be. And
well, that's a nice software to use.
It's part of the Ham Radio Deluxe
Ham
program.
Radio Deluxe suite.
You go to the satellite tracking program.
And the International Space Station has a repeater, correct?
They all do, right.
Wow, okay. Are you set up at this time to talk to this space station?
I'd have to look up the frequency and everything
okay.
else, and it's not here yet, but
yeah. Yeah, on this geochrome clock, it shows the International Space Station.
Shows all the amateur radio satellites.
And all the amateur radio satellites there.
And they're where they are, and what the dots are the future path.
And that's like, for example, this one here.
That's coming south.
That's going south, and that's 5 miles per second as it's traveling along with the...
and it shows the altitude. This one is traveling at 4 miles a second. It's 812 miles high.
Okay. Okay, QRZ, November 4, Victor, Foxtrot, Romeo.
PY1JDX.
Papa Yankee 1 Juliet Delta X-ray. Good afternoon to you. This is November 4 Victor Foxtrot Romeo, over.
Roger.
There he is.
I get your page on QSLs.com.
Paulo.
My name is Paul. Paulo with your Willie Muskie. Papa Alpha Uniform Lima Oscar. Papa Yankee 1 Juliet Delta X-ray. I'm located in Rio de Janeiro. Supposed to be 40 degrees centigrade. Under Fahrenheit. Right now it's 70 Fahrenheit, 72 or something like that.
Okay, I copy 3 Charlie, only 3 Charlie, please. This is November 4 Victor Foxtrot Romeo, over.
Hello, Darren. N4VFR, Hotel Kilo 3 Charlie. My name is John, John, located on top of the Andes, about 2.8 kilometers above sea level. Just wanted to compliment you on your YouTube videos. I'm a watcher and enjoy them all. You sound terrific, and wonder how you're copying me today, Darren. Again, my name's John. I'm just north of Bogota. N4VFR, Hotel Kilo 3 Canada.
Hotel Kilo 3 Canada. All right, good afternoon, John. I'm glad to make contact with you. Matter of fact, I have the film rolling, and we are making a video now with Rich's station, and I wanted to try his radio. So maybe you heard we're using Icom 7851, Icom 7851, using amplifier. I think it's SPS Expert 2K, and the SteppIR 4-element pointing in your direction. So thank you for watching my station, John. You're 5.9 plus 20. Very good signal here. And how much power are you running, over?
Running a kilowatt, Darren, using an Icom amplifier. And my transceiver is a Yaesu FTDX101MP. And I'm very familiar with the 7851, having used one for 5 years. Okay, a lot of guys calling you. Say good afternoon to Richard as well.
That's in Colombia.
And keep up the good work, and congratulations on all the videos. It's a pleasure to have a QSO with you, Darren. N4VFR, HK3 Charlie.
Okay, very good. Nice to meet you on 20 meters. I rarely get on here, but I'm operating a station, Rich's station. So 73s, I will use this video, and then you will hear yourself, and then on my YouTube channel. So Hotel Kilo Tree Charlie, this is November 4 Victor Foxtrot Romeo 73, my friend.
Thank you, Darren, 73.
But I tell you what, Rich, it's amazing that the SteppIR can hear, you know, and I don't think I need to put 1,000 watts of power, but
No, you don't. What you should do, you make a contact and then you hit the 180 button. You say to him, look at my S meter now. He's going to say you're 20/9. You'll hit that 180 button. That's just the director becomes a reflector. The reflector becomes a director. And your signal dropped from the 20/9 down an S5. And the same thing. In other words,
the front to back ratio is really really good.
It's dramatic. Or let's say that you were talking to someone in the east and there was a station in the west. Instead of waiting 20 seconds to get the antenna around, you hit that button, boom, you're
How does it do that? I mean,
the
element, the coppers?
in that copper, remember
Yeah.
there are motors there. The director becomes a reflector, it extends, and the reflector shortens and becomes a director.
Wow.
I mean, all four of those motors are slave to the thing. So you can do, see the normal here? That's forward.
We're normally
Forward.
normal
Yeah,
configuration.
180 turns it 180, and then
Yeah.
bi is, let's say you were talking to a guy on the East Coast and West
Yeah.
Coast, that'll act like a dipole.
Oh yeah. Bidirectional.
Right.
Very good. Rich is going to show us a front to back ratio on a signal with the
You need to get a
SteppIR.
loud signal.
He's looking for a strong.
Strong signal, just
Yeah.
I'll go to 20 meters just to.
CQ20, CQ20, CQ20. Calling CQ, calling CQ, calling anyone, anywhere. Hello, CQ20 meters. This is KC2, HPR. This is Kilowatt Charlie 2, Hotel Bravo Radio, calling CQ20. You listening? Okay, Whiskey Boot. Hello there, Whiskey Boot. Good afternoon to you out there in the Carolinas.
Then I'll do the reverse.
All right,
Watch
so
what his signal happens to his signal.
you looked at his beam heading, which is 31, and the beam is currently turning to heading with 031. Okay.
I'm earning 200 watts out of my radio. My
It's
radio is a Kenwood TS-990.
S9 plus 20,
Now hit the 180 button.
Whatever the big rig
and we're going to hit the 180
Yep.
when he's talking.
When he comes back, hit the 180
Yeah.
and watch what happens.
Copy that there, Whiskey Boot. How you doing today?
Look, what?
Now,
Wait till he comes in.
Roger that. What's your name for the
okay, now is S9, so it did drop a little bit.
Hit the forward button and watch when he.
Roger that.
Go.
Fine business on that there. You're booming in. You sound great this way.
Look at that.
And, nice to work you today.
Front to back ratio on this beam is awesome.
Do you hear the difference?
It's much clearer. It's S7 with on the back side of the beam, and then now we're in the normal. The beam is currently pointing to the north, 030.
Hit it again.
We're going to backside.
Calling CQ20 meters. This is KC.
Down S6.
Yeah.
Now hit it forward. Hit it forward.
Bravo Radio calling.
KC-8 Bravo Radio Tango.
Okay, KC-8 Bravo Radio Tango. 20 dB
S6 to
over
5/9.
Coming in
Yeah.
from Long Island, New York. My name is John. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, John.
For those that don't believe about SteppIR, I'm a believer now.
Yes, you sure,
So
mate.
this is a lot of awards that Rich has here. Can you explain some of these awards there, Rich?
Well, back in 1968, I contacted a station in Liverpool, England, who happened to be friendly with the 4 Beatles. And he sent me 2 autographed pictures of the Beatles from Liverpool.
Wow, that's amazing. And who's that?
That's me at age 16.
16 years old. My goodness. That's awesome.
Now I'm a curmudgeon.
And obviously you're an extra class license since
1969. Back in that time,
Boston.
you had to be a general class licensee or advanced for 2 years before you were eligible to go to the FCC field office and sit for the extra exam.
And then you had to learn 20 words a minute.
20 words
back
per
then.
minute. It was a 5-minute code test of random letter groups. You had to copy 100 letters without a single error, and you couldn't guess because they weren't words.
Oh no. I was advanced class and I learned 13 words a minute. And I think if I remember right, it was more like a QSL, and then you had to answer the questions, what is this QTH or what the signal report was. But that was during high school.
Right. Not at the FCC. They were random letter groups, so you couldn't make up a word. If someone said, my QTH is New York, and you missed the word city, you could guess city. In the FCC code tests, there's no way of guessing anything. It was random numbers and letters.
All right. Yeah, it was tough back then.
And out of 5 minutes, you had to copy 100 characters without a single error within that 5-minute period.
This looks like someone special here. This is what
His
King
Majesty King Hussein of Jordan.
Jordan.
I worked him aboard an aeronautical mobile. This was just after the peace treaty signing between Israel and Jordan. And King Hussein was flying to Washington, D.C. over the mid-Atlantic to attend a ceremony. I heard a Jordanian aeronautical mobile, which is unusual enough. I called, the pilot answered me, and I put 2 and 2 together. I presumed that the king was on the plane, and I politely asked the captain if he would invite King Hussein to the cockpit. And I told him if this were to happen, I would tell it to my children and my children's children. It would be the biggest honor of my ham radio experience. And before I knew it, King Hussein was chatting with me on the radio, aeronautical mobile. A week later, a station in Mexico City contacted me and offered his congratulations. I said, what? He said, I heard you talking to His Majesty. I said, oh, you know how these things come up. I wish I had recorded it. He said, well, I did. And he sent me a cassette of my conversation with JY1 as heard in Mexico City, which I since have converted to a CD-ROM, and I have the cassette.
Nice. I like the short call, JY1.
JY is the international prefix for Jordan, and being the king,
He's number 1.
he's number 1. JY2 would be his wife, the queen.
The queen. Awesome.
JY3 was his son, Abdul, who is currently the king.
Look at this. He was featured in the 73. I remember that magazine. Let me move over here because of the spotlight. I remember that magazine, 73 amateur radio. And would that be you in that picture?
That's me after a freak wind destroyed my tower and 3-element cubicle quad. My wife, who was KA9SOF, wrote an article for 73, and it became the cover story.
And right there on page 33, oops, that's what it said.
Stuff happens.
All right, man. And let me roll. You got the 13 colonies, and that was just fairly recently, wasn't it?
I've done it several years in a row. That's the one I put in a frame.
Okay.
This is from the former Soviet Union. It's their equivalent of the Worked All Continents Award. This says diploma in Cyrillic. P6K for the 6 continents.
And that was 1982.
Well, when it was the Soviet Union, not the Russian Federation. This is also from that same period for working 100 Soviet Union stations. And again, that says diploma in Cyrillic. And Krinkel is credited with having invented radio, a Russian scientist. they don't credit Marconi.
What about this piece of the rock? What is that?
This was a
all
Canadian Newfoundland special event station. If you contacted the station, you would be entitled to 1 square inch of Newfoundland, registered in my name.
I was in the Navy and I recognized that ship. That's the USS Saratoga CV-60. That was also based here in Mayport, Naval Station Mayport in Jacksonville.
In 1976, this was prior to satellite communications, and the only way our Navy seamen could communicate with their loved ones and family was via an occasional ham radio phone patch. They were looking for any signal that was strong from North America, and then I would patch the station into the telephone and do a reverse telephone call to their loved ones. In this instance, the lieutenant's father had terminal cancer, and he had an opportunity to speak with him before he passed. He was very grateful to have that chance.
Yeah, that's very, very nice. You know, I also was that's the name of the person,
Yes.
Lieutenant
Grubbs.
Ken Grubbs. So I used to be the Mars operator on board USS John F. Kennedy, and I think the call sign was NNN0 Charlie X-ray Bravo, if I remember right. But yeah, and we were there. We were actually, my station was here on I can't even know if you can see it. There's the island right there. There's a catwalk, and on the catwalk there's a 35-foot whip antenna, and that's where my ham shack or Mars station was located on the John F. Kennedy CV-67.
Radio Amateur's Conversation Guide. It's out of print, but it can be found on the internet and downloaded at no cost.
Okay.
It gives you a complete QSO in English, German, French, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, Russian, and Japanese.
So you actually
I've memorized.
Oh my goodness, that's neat. So you actually try to speak their language to other hams, right? In their language?
I'm fluent in French and Spanish, but for the other languages, I've used this often enough, I can do a standard QSO in all of those languages.
Right.
And the Russians are absolutely floored when I talk to them.
Do you actually practice ahead of time, right?
Rad z vami poznakomić, which means glad to meet you.
Oh goodness.
And it demonstrates respect for the culture. And it's a sad but lonely fact, only 10% of U.S. amateurs can speak a second language. But when you listen to the Europeans, you'll hear a Russian and a Brazilian talking in English.
I've heard
we need
that,
to do
yeah.
better with our language education. And I always use this. And in fact, if I need to find other words, I have this Vasco language translation device. It does over 70 languages. I can speak to it in English, and within a half a second it will translate and put in words and the voice of those languages. So a lot of the Eastern European languages, Polish or Norwegian or Swedish, Hungarian, all of that is available. And for me, having an opportunity to challenge my mind and acquire even a minor proficiency in these languages is very rewarding because we get to use it on the air. And if you have a station and it's not a powerful one, if you can say a few words in the host country's language, you will have as many contacts as you can handle.
And friends forever.
Absolutely.
They'll remember you more than, like having a contest. they'll remember you personally because if you understood their language or you spoke their language.
Absolutely, even if it's a few greetings in the end. So I highly recommend you do a search for the Radio Amateur's Conversation Guide. It's available online at no cost. You download it, print it out, and give it a try.
Okay, I'm gonna get your food. Make you happy. Okay?
How do you say that? Victrola.
Victrola. It's RCA Victor, and the Victrola was the fancy term for the horn is internal. It's contained inside the cabinet. So a Victor talking machine has an external horn, and a Victor-Victrola has a horn internally into the cabinet. They only made 2,400 of these, this model.
This is the Victrola. It's a steel needle.
Steel needle, gold-plated, and mahogany cabinet.
And what was the name of the record?
This record is Ain't He Sweet by Annette Hanshaw, who was a 1914 Bathing Beauty Contest winner, also a singer and comedian.
Very nice. 2,400 of these are only made.
This particular model,
Yeah.
they only produced 2,400.
That's a beauty.
And this was for storing records in here.
Okay, for record storage.
And you'd asked about the...
Yeah, the needles, right? That's your needles?
Each pack has 500 needles.
The thing about this, Richard was telling me, he played one earlier. You can only use one needle, and here's how small it is. Let me get that. There you go. See that needle? That's a steel needle, and you can only play one song or one record at a time. Correct?
That is correct, as the needle is made out of steel, and the Bakelite records wear the needle down after one play. If you used it for a second play, it would start to carve the record up and destroy the fidelity of the record with repeated use. It was Thomas Edison who invented the diamond needle, which did not have to be replaced with every record.
Thomas Edison.
Invented the diamond needle.
The diamond needle. Okay.
Prior to that, the needles were steel.
And when I was young, I was familiar with
Nipper the dog.
RCA Nipper.
Right. Nipper, it was the dog whose master's voice was so realistic he would perk up when the Victor-Victrola or Victor talking machine was playing.
And I see you have another replica
Of Nipper the
down
dog.
here.
On the player that will speed up or slow down the revolutions, since they didn't have computers and different recording companies weren't exactly playing at 80. Some might have been 79, some might have been 81. This way you could adjust the speed to where the sound
To your
appeared
ear,
natural, right.
natural, because it could be too
and that's
slow.
what,
just
that's
a
what
tad.
this is, right? I can
Yeah.
speed it up or slow it down.
And there's no electricity?
None at all.
mentioned?
You
Only-
wind it up, and you can play almost 4 records when you've wound it up fully.
Okay.
You had thin needles and thick needles. A thick needle will sound louder than a thin needle. That was a way of adjusting the volume. And then the middle container is for the used, the spent needles. So you'd have thin, thick, and then your discards in the middle. Okay, this is a 1931 Atwater, Kent AM broadcast radio. Prior to television broadcasting, this was the main entertainment instrument for families.
Is this this operational you mentioned?
Yes, absolutely. I can turn it on if you'd like to.
That looks like an on and off button there, isn't that it?
That adjusts the antenna.
Oh,
The
okay.
on-off is right here. I'll plug it in. Here is the original cord, which is cloth covered.
It's cloth right here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
very old. Take a while to warm up.
I like how the lighting is like orange, not so bright.
This is a tone control, and as the radio comes up, it's still warming up.
Russia has accused Ukraine of shooting down a military transport plane.
This is a tone
Killing 65
control.
Ukrainian POWs aboard.
The defense
Oh, the
ministry
tone,
said
yeah.
Ukrainian forces shot down the plane, killing all 74 people aboard, including the prisoners of war who were to be swapped. To meet accusations and establishing the facts has often been difficult. I'm Charles, for investment.
The tropical low, slowly moving across northeast Australia, has now reached cyclone strength and will bring flooding into Queensland state over the weekend. Tropical cyclone Carilli.
Now this is what I've seen like in the back in the old days, like I guess the commercial, the RCA dog nipper.
Yeah, that's a Victor talking machine. It's a Victor Model 5. And I'll show you this one here. There's a needle.
Oh, you got a needle?
Yeah, I have lots of needles. Just put it in.
It's just acoustics, no
There's no electricity.
no
or anything.
electric. He winds it
All
up.
acoustic.
Let's take a look here. He's winding it.
Then you release the brake. Oh.
Very good.
The title of this song is Whispering. It's a famous song.
Whispering?
Have you heard it before?
No. You also have a speed control right here, right?
Yes, that's exactly it. Sounds pretty good for 1928, almost 100 years
1928,
old.
yeah.
And this is a 1906, the machine. I'm sorry, 1908. So
This is a 1908.
Right.
And the other one downstairs.
1924.
1924. This is even older.
Yes.
I
this
didn't
this
see
was
this.
sold by Sears Roebuck, and the Cecilian, it was the god of music. Here's the speed control.
Now on the left side versus the right. And the
Right.
brake.
There's the brake,
Yeah.
and here's your discards, your needles. Notice it has the bar across it, so you won't confuse the two.
Oh, I gotcha.
And then these are for
And
your-
again, that's the acoustic.
The cloth is missing. There used to be a grill cloth here. That's it. This is a Victrola type of player, and this is for your record storage.
Gotcha.
So it's missing the cloth that would have been in front of the grill. And you can learn from the artist. So, for instance, this is 21334A. I could look that up in my little encyclopedia
Okay.
to find out when was this record pressed, who was the artist, a little
Yeah.
bit about the artist.
And where's that that library of lookup?
That's right here.
The leading musical performers. This is back in 1900 to 1950.
2,150 biographies.
Well, Rich has a collection here. This is from the era from 1900 to 1930, as we talked earlier.
The acoustic era.
Yeah, it's called the acoustic era.
Thomas Edison invented the phonograph, which the music was recorded on cylinders.
Oh yeah, there we go. I see.
And then Emil Berliner came up with the first disc record. These were called discs
Oh, those were disc.
versus a cylinder. And the needle actually moves horizontally. The information is recorded on the sides of the groove. And so that needle swings back and forth and goes through the transducer, and you hear the sound. Thomas Edison, not to be outdone by Emil Berliner, came up with his own version of a phonograph. In fact, Thomas Edison patented the word phonograph. That's why Victor couldn't call it a phonograph. They called it a talking machine.
Oh, that's why.
Thomas Edison owns the
patent.
trademark for phonograph.
Phonograph.
And
Till this day?
no, it's long expired. And what happened was, because Berliner recorded the music laterally and on the side of the grooves, in order not to violate the patent that Emil Berliner had, Thomas Edison recorded Hill and Dale. He recorded the music on the bottom of the groove, up and down. So an Edison record will not play on a Victor machine or a Columbia machine.
Oh, that's
And
amazing. It's almost like their own patent.
Yeah,
We're going
otherwise he would have been sued.
we're going to have it this way so that other players can't play my music. Or
Well,
Yeah.
this method of recording on the lateral edges of the groove survived to today. The modern albums are all lateral, swinging back and forth.
Yeah.
Thomas Edison, who invented the Hill and Dale method of recording, long gone. So it's almost like the VHS and the
Betamax?
and Betamax.
Back then?
VHS succeeded. Betamax
No, it
eventually
died,
went
yeah.
away. Thomas Edison's Hill and Dale recordings gone away. Of course, collectors like myself, if I had an Edison machine, the Edison records are thicker because, again, he was cutting a groove at the bottom of the channel, whereas Emil Berliner, the information is on the lateral sides of the channel.
Very nice. A lot of history.
Two different patents.
Here's Rich's tower. Right now, he told me it's currently at 60 feet.
54 and a half, and with the mast, we're at 60.
All right, Rich, what do you got here?
The antenna is a 4-element SteppIR. The boom is 32 feet long, and there are 4 elements. On 30 and 40 meters, it acts as a rotatable dipole. 4 elements, 20 meters through 10 meters, and 6 elements on 6 meters. Above the antenna, we have 2 M-squared egg beaters for 70 centimeters and 2 meters, which are useful for VHF, UHF, and satellite communications. Then we have at the 50-foot level on a standoff bracket a Bushcom model 1KDE. It's a traveling wave antenna that operates continuously from 160 meters through 10 meters. It consists of 3 parallel wires that are separated by spreaders a foot apart from each other. The 2 wires on the far left and right at the center join a 9-to-1 balun, and at the far end of each leg they join the middle wire, which at the center terminates in a 1200 ohm resistor rated at 2 kilowatts. This antenna with a single 50 ohm feed line operates continuously from 1.8 through 30 megahertz, no tuner needed. It's 177 feet long, which I believe is about 54 meters.
Yeah. And right now, is this at the stow position that your tower is located, or?
Tower is fully extended.
That's fully extended now.
This is as high as it gets.
At 60, you said
54 and a half feet. With the mast, the antennas are up at about 60 feet.
And you can see the egg beaters up there for his satellite. He got 2 of them.
2 of them with the sideband engineering mass-mounted preamplifiers to help with the weak signals from satellites.
And this here, that's the, what do you call it, the winch?
This motor here tilts the tower horizontally. The motor to the left raises the tower and lowers the tower.
Okay, the sun is setting. Yeah, earlier in the QSO, we demonstrated the front to back ratio on that SteppIR, and I was amazed on the direction, that how narrow it was, and I think it's because of having multiple directors up there.
There are 2 directors,
2 directors,
driven element, and 1 reflector. But because it is a SteppIR, I can hit a 180-degree reverse button, and the reflector can become a director, and the second director can become a reflector.
You know, it was pretty fast too.
Less than 2 seconds.
Yeah, it was pretty fast when they switched sides, when you went to 180 degrees. So that is his monster SteppIR. What is it called again?
It's the SteppIR 4E/40. The elements are 39 feet long. The boom is 32 feet long.
Well, it's been a pleasure, Rich, inviting me over here to take a look at your shack. I really enjoyed, I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff to talk about. I mean, he showed me his album of DX contacts. We have, what, 290 contacts in a photo album, and he showed me another album, Work All States. So it's a pretty impressive collection that he has, and it all happens because his equipment, obviously you need to have a good antenna, so I'm a true believer in a SteppIR, but his station here, man, it's immaculate. I want to stay here all night. I mean, look at, it's already sunset, and I've been here since lunch. It's like a nice little field trip to your QTH, Rich. So I appreciate it, sir.
Well, it's been a privilege having you here and welcoming you. This is the best hobby in the world. We need more people to join with us. I have a new career now. I'm a professional loafer, which the wife frequently reminds me I have unlimited capacity and capability for that. That really helps if you're wanting to work more DXCC countries.
Yes.
But thank you for visiting with us today, and I hope we work many of your viewers on the air.
So 73s, guys, my name is Darren, and my amateur radio call sign is N4VFR.
And I'm WA1GZY. All the best.
73s. See ya.